Hello and welcome back to Dawn Chorus Writes, a Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction and audio fiction. This is the special series 7 Stages of Life, and it was for Adrienette April, but then I got sick and yeah. So it is now May and this is stage 6, Shooting Star. So I hope you enjoy it. Massive shout out to J. Carroll for her beautiful, stunning commissioned artwork in the thumbnail. So make sure you go and send her loads of love. Send me loads of love by smashing that like button. Comment down below what you think of it and what will happen in the last stage of life coming next. And subscribe so you do not miss out on the next stage and other one-shots and other series that are coming your way. And I hope you enjoy. Stage 6, Shooting Star. Adrien, 35 years old, is a doctor, a sleep-deprived father, the luckiest husband, and can't think of a single thing to wish for. What do you call a boomerang that doesn't come back? Adrien called out behind him as he picked up another stick and placed it in his folded out container. Seriously, Papa? Hugo groaned, chucking in his sticks. A stick! Adrien held one in the air and threw it across the trees into the undergrowth. Really? That was bad. Like, not even funny bad, Papa. Hugo rolled his blue eyes, reminding him of Marinette so much, still able to see the twinkle hidden beneath, especially when he swept back his dark blue hair from his face. Just because you are 9 years old now does not make you too old to hear my jokes. What does an owl say when they hear someone in the forest? Adrien glanced at his son, who was trying to hide a muffled snigger. Who's there? Oh, come on, Papa! Hugo broke through the line of trees first. Mom, tell Papa to stop telling his jokes. They aren't even funny. A young girl with blonde hair tied back in 2 plaits jumped up and rubbed her grubby hands across her dungarees. I love Papa jokes. Listen to this one. What is a firefly's favourite dance? A glitter bug. Emma grinned at her 2 brothers. Hugo just rolled his eyes while Louis burst out laughing. Adrien dropped the container 2 feet away from the stone circle for the campfire and scooped his daughter into his arms, as the small one squeezed him back. I thought it was really sweet, my little bug, he said, giving her a kiss on the top of her head and placed her back down again. Only 'cause she's 7 and still has a childish sense of humour. Hugo stuck out his tongue at his sister. Emma instantly took chase after him. Take that back, Hugo. I'm not childish. Tell him, Papa. Hugo weaved through the trees as Emma tried grabbing at his hoodie, all while Louis got excited and wanted to join in, not sure which brother or sister he should be chasing. Why don't we settle down and tell the rest of the jokes around the fire? Marinette called out over the loud noises of laughter and screams. She placed a bag into the tent, which was already set up, followed by 2 sleeping bags. Adrien came up behind her, threw in 2 rolled-out mattresses, and then scooped his arms around her waist, leaning his head on top of hers. Leave them be, Daisy. Let them have some fun. That's why we are here after all. To get them out of the city for the night as a family. Cook up some s'mores around the campfire. Tell jokes. Adrien wiggled his eyebrows. He knew she couldn't see, but grinned when he heard the light chuckle escape out of her mouth at the thought of it. Let them burn off some energy before we stargaze tonight, my love. Marinette turned in his arms so she was facing him now. Fine, but they still have their own tent to pitch and prepare before it gets dark. She ran her fingers down his cheek in a playful manner. Thank you for this. It was a great idea of yours. Adrien leaned closer and kissed her. They had been together for almost 20 years, but her kisses could never age. Instead, they had perfected to the point he could express his emotions in a brief brush of the lips. Mom, Papa, ugh! Hugo blurted out, freezing to the spot, and Louis, now standing behind his big brother, copied his sounds and actions. Adrien pulled back and raised his eyebrows at his sons. Any more of those sounds, and I will start telling more jokes. Or maybe put the effort into constructing your own tent for tonight? Marinette gestured to all 3 of their children, who had stopped running and was now sighing in defeat. Otherwise, you will be sleeping under the stars tonight. All 3 children cast their gaze down to the ground, avoiding the mother's eye contact, and moaned. Adrien smiled, knowing Marinette was the everyday boss of the house, whilst he was the playful father. But when they had to be, they were a team. The kids were smart and tried to work out how to play one parent against the other, something Adrien would never have dared to do whilst growing up, but recognized the cheeky glint in Marinette's behaviour. He contemplated jumping in as referee, whilst Hugo and Emma argued who should be leading, whilst Louis running around, bless his heart, trying to be helpful, but his love's hand on his shoulder and a shake of her head suggested to leave them be. And after another hour, the second tent eventually popped up next to the first. All whilst Adrien proved he hadn't forgotten the skills he had learned at camp as he built the fire in a stone circle, and Marinette prepared to get some food ready for dinner. Taking a moment to rejoice in the heat and how good it felt against his face and warming his hands, as the smell brought back memories. The days were hot, but the nights could still get chilly. He couldn't help grinning at the sight before him. These were the moments he and Marinette had dreamt of when they were younger, sitting on the sofa on their rooftop clubhouse and talked about their future. Everyday life was good, but busy, especially when Marinette had a show on or his medical practice became overloaded. They had made a pact to each other to make time for the family, for one another, to live for moments like this one. A hand gently stroked the top of his hair, running their fingers through the rough tufts at the back, causing him to lean into the gesture. "Is it ready to cook on?" Marinette whispered into his ear. "I'd forgotten how much I liked that smoky smell in your hair. Reminded me of the first time you tried to make s'mores at camp and got downwind of the smoke. For days afterwards the smell remained in your hair." Adrien turned round and grinned at the smile he received back. He loved how this woman, even after all this time, could make his heart do flips. "I believe that was your first time too, but yes, the fire is ready." "Thank you, and I think someone else could do with your help too." Marinette gestured to the side, and he could see his son attempting to set up the telescope. "Careful, Hugo! If one of the lenses get broken, I'm coming!" Adrien jumped to his feet, quickly kissed Marinette on the side of her head, and darted towards Hugo. Across the valley, stretching out in front of them, the sun gave way to dusk, casting a golden haze to blanket the fields, whilst the sky transformed to a palette of rich display of rainbow colours. And yet, already Adrien could make out the stars sparkling like diamonds through the scope. "There, I believe it's ready for tonight's performance." "Papa, why do you love looking at the stars so much?" remarked Louis, while sitting on his maman's lap, gazing upwards. "I love them because of the stories that they tell." "They tell stories, Papa? Really? Did you hear that, Mom? The stars can tell stories. Papa, what kind of stories do they tell?" Louis said in wonder. Adrien settled back into his chair beside the fire and gestured for Louis to join him, smiling at his little boy scurrying down from one lap and chuckling as he scrambled onto Adrien's. He wrapped his arms around his boy and gestured for him to look up at the North Star. "Do you see that one there? It is the brightest one." Louis pressed his head against Adrien's hand to follow his line of sight. "That is what we call the North Star. From that one you can work your way to various clusters of stars." "But why, Papa?" "Well, I suppose a long, long time ago, thousands of years ago," he smiled as his little eyes widened, "people used to do what we are doing now, sitting around the fire and tell stories, because back then there was no such thing as TV or tablets." "No, really?" Louis glanced at his mom to confirm this fact at the amusement of his brother and sister. "Really, they would use the stars to paint the pictures." "I already knew that." said Louis, nodding his head. No, you didn't. Papa just told you, said Hugo, folding his arms. What's your favourite story, Papa? Jumped in Emma. You see that star there, and how it's connected to form a line? The Orion's belt. Well, next to it is the Taurus constellation, which is also Hades, the god of the underworld. But I don't think you all want to hear about that now, do you? Yeah! All three children called out as one, with Marinette's giggles in the background as she placed Maguire's sausages onto the cooking rack over the fire. The paprika spice juices dripped into the flames and caused them to spark and dance with rigour, as if they had become the actors performing his play. You know how we have the seasons? Yeah, spring, summer, autumn and, said Emma. And winter, shouted out Louis, with a proud tone to his voice. Exactly, said Adrien, grinning and ruffling Louis's hair before patting Emma on the back, who had now placed herself next to her papa. Hugo was now gazing through the telescope. Well, what if I told you this story is how the seasons came to be? Adrien raised his eyebrows at the gasp as Marinette couldn't help smiling at Louis, who was cuddling in closer to him. Once upon a time, a long time ago, there was a young woman called Persephone. They said that she was so beautiful that many male gods instantly fell in love with her. But her mother, Demeter, the goddess of nature, wanted to keep her daughter safe by ordering her to remain in the fields amongst the flowers. However, there was one god called Hades, who had fallen madly in love with the young goddess and came up with a plan to steal her to the underworld. Once Demeter realized her daughter had disappeared, she searched the world for a sign of her, but none could be found, and neglected all the crops, the trees, and the plants, casting a famine to happen across the world. Oh no, what's gonna happen, Papa? Louis whispered into his chest. Listen, said Emma. Well, Demeter sought help from the other gods, but no one could tell her until she came to Helios, the sun god, positioned high in the sky. He could see across the land. He told her that Hades had caused the earth to shake and crack, revealing the underworld before stealing her away. But little did Demeter know that Persephone had fallen in love with Hades and didn't want to leave the underworld. And yet she knew she had to when she discovered what had happened to the natural world above. So they came up with a plan. Adrien glanced around his silent audience and noticed that Hugo was now sitting beside Marinette and had leaned in for a cuddle. Hades told Persephone that if she ate the fruit from the underworld, it would connect her with it forevermore. So she ate 4 seeds from the pomegranate, which meant she would have to return to Hades for 4 months of the year to rule as his queen. Therefore, each year when Persephone returns to the underworld, winter begins in the natural world until she returns and brings with her spring. So, what does that have to do with the stars? Said Hugo. The ancient Greeks turned their gods into constellations and linking them with the horoscopes we know today. You see, Persephone is the Virgo constellation and Hades is, like I said before, is Taurus. Do you think you can find them again in the sky? Adrien raised his eyebrows in a challenge at Hugo, who jumped to his feet in an excited burst of energy. Well, Taurus is next to Orion, which is there. But give me a second to find Virgo. Do you know any stories on shooting stars, Papa? Asked Emma in a quiet voice. I know there is a goddess of fallen stars called Astrea, and she was the mother of Hecate and the goddess of witchcraft, which I think the idea of wishing on a fallen star comes from, and the magic attached to it. Wow, Papa, you know everything, said Louis in awe. He only thinks he does, said Marinette in a teasing voice and a smirk on her face, which Adrien returned with a wink. Emma, darling, can you grab me the baguettes from the food box? Marinette gestured to the car before removing the Maguire sausages off the fire and placed them onto a tray. So, Papa, what will you be wishing for? Asked Hugo, studying the cluster of stars above them. Why don't you tell me what you all wish for first? Said Adrien, deflecting the question, not sure how to answer, as in right this very moment there was nothing he could think of. He had more than he could ever wish for. Well, I'm not going to tell you mine, because my mum said it won't come true if I do, Emma declared as she crouched down next to Marinette with the bread, chopping board and knives. Isn't that right? Emma looked to the side for backup. Only because it'll be something embarrassing, like wishing for a unicorn, or that boy, Hugo said in a teasing manner. What boy is this? Adrien's mouth suddenly felt dry as he tried to swallow, his heart pounding in his chest. He thought he had at least another 8 or 9 years to prepare for even an idea of a boy. That is none of your business, and ew, it's not like that. You and my mum were friends first. I can have a boy who is a friend, Papa. Seriously, that's not what I was going to wish anyway. Emma, will you fetch the sauces and salad, please? Marinette added in, mirroring his own worried expression and grateful for the change in subject. Louis, what is yours going to be? Adrien gazed down at his little cherub, who looked lost in watching the dancing flames. It depends. On what? Adrien raised his eyebrows, wondered where this one was going to go. On how many wishes can I get? Is it like a genie, where I get 3? Or is it like a wish for each star that I can count? Because I can count up to 50, Papa. Did you know that? Louis was listing off the ideas on his fingers. Well, for the time being, why don't we stick to one wish and see how we get on with that? I think it's better to have one really good wish than greedy with lots of them, Adrien said, trying his hardest to hold back his laughter at the serious face that was forming across his son's little face. This is gonna take some big thinking, Papa. I did want a dragon, or a chocolate castle, or a treasure chest filled with 100 euros. That's a lot of money, isn't it, Papa? I could buy myself a dragon with that. Yeah, a toy one maybe, Hugo muttered under his breath. Oh, look, Papa, I think it's starting. He stared down the scope but waved Adrien over. But I haven't made my choice yet, moaned Louis, as Adrien picked him up and placed him on his shoulders and saw a tiny ball of light shoot across the night sky. Wow, did you see that one? Can you spot another one? Adrien pointed upwards and giggled at the little wiggly bum on his shoulders. And I say, wish for something that is true to your heart. That has never steered me wrong. Is that what you're going to wish for, my kitty? Your heart's desire? Marinette stood beside him, leaning her head against his shoulder, whilst looping her arms around his. I've been thinking this over, and there is nothing I could wish for. This, our family, our lives, is more than I could ever want or need. My heart is full, Daisy. What about you? I don't think I could say it any better myself, Kitty. Health, happiness, and our family. I just want to know, how did we get so lucky to have the life that we do? It's going by so fast, it doesn't feel real somehow, said Marinette in a dreamy voice, fixed on the stars. I know what you mean. It feels like only a slither of time has passed since I said I do. And now Hugo is the same age I met you. I was thinking of seeing if you wanted to do camp this year. What do you think? I think you might make his wish come true, and you never know, he might find his own best mate. Marinette let out a happy sigh. Thank you, Adrien, my love, for everything. She leaned up on her tippy toes and gave his cheek a light kiss, and then on Louis's knee by the sound of his giggle, before making her way back to finish getting their supper ready. Adrien remembered back to when he was Louis's age, sitting in the back garden with his mother, looking up at the stars. She said something in that moment that always stuck in his thoughts, at how powerful a wish can be, believing that something is owed to you to the point you can spend your whole life searching to make that one wish come true, and how fate can end up playing a cruel hand instead. No, this was more than enough for him, his family. What else could he wish for? Thank you for listening to stage 6 of the 7 stages of life, Shooting Star. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you smash that like button. Send me some love, please. Comment down below what you think of it and what will happen in the last stage of life that is coming up very soon, and stage 7. And make sure you subscribe so you do not miss out on the final stage and other one-shots and other series and everything else that is coming your way. And thank you very much for all the love and support I have received recently, and all your patience for waiting for this to come out. So thank you very much, and I hope you are good, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.